What? Swipe items on your list to end it. I don't care, I just want to do my video. Good afternoon and welcome to another video with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on the 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee WJ 4.7 liter limited edition. So today we are doing the U-joints on the drive shafts. We are rebuilding both drive shafts, front and rear, and this is pretty much going to apply to most Jeeps out there, most vehicles, most cars. Drive shafts are a pretty standard thing. There's nothing too exciting about them. That said, we ran into some problems on this Jeep, so stay tuned and I'll show you what we did and how we overcame them. This video is just a quick tutorial of not necessarily how to do your U-joints. I'm not a mechanic, I'm not trained, I'm not specialized in any way. I'm just a guy that likes to work on my vehicles. This video is more of a how I change my U-joints. Clearly too, by the time you see the struggles, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do it that way. But that's the way we did it, and that's what I'm going to show you. So before we dive in, I got a couple things. One, all the parts and most of the tools I use in this video that you're about to see, I'm going to link in the video description below. I'm going to link them through Amazon, and if you click on those links and buy anything within 24 hours, I make a small commission off of that. That helps me, which goes straight to the channel and more projects, which means more videos for you. Two, there's also a PayPal link and a Zelle link, my Zelle information, if you want to donate directly to the channel with your cash. For those of you that have done it, I very much so appreciate it. You are helping keep these videos alive, so keep donating. Thank you, appreciate it, and I'll keep putting out videos. That aside, I think we can get started, right? So the U-joints I use, they're Moogs, Mogs, whatever, 269s. Again, I'll link them in the video description below. I bought all 5 of the exact same because they're non-greasable. A lot of people out there think that the greasable joints, whether it be ball joints, U-joints, tie rods, are better than the lifetime sealed. I'm not going to debate that one way or the other. I like the sealed versions because I don't have to maintain it. Also, I feel like they don't get as dirty. The greased ones, like you gotta clean the zerk off every time you want to try and grease it, and then grease pops out, and then that grease that popped out, you can't always clean it all the way, and then you get on a dirt road like this and it just gets gross. So I like the sealed versions, so that's what I bought. There's also going to be a little grease slinger catcher, whatever you want to call it. I did not buy a new one of those, but I'll link one. I didn't buy it because it was going to be like a 2-week lead time, and I wanted to do this weekend. And then another little contraption thingy that you should probably replace that I will also link down below. All that said, let's get started. All right, so for this job, you're gonna probably find it helpful if you can get all 4 corners, all 4 tires off the ground at the same time, whether that be with 4 jack stands or not. It's not necessary, you don't have to do it that way, but it is gonna make it easier. I have the 2-post lift, so of course I'm gonna use it. I spent money on it. I'm gonna use it. It helps me get the camera in there so you guys can see what I'm doing. So once you have it lifted, or whatever you're doing, also, you might find it easier to go ahead and put the transfer case in neutral. You can leave it in park. Just drop your transfer case in the neutral. This is gonna allow you to spin your drive shaft so you can get to all 4 bolts on the drive shafts. I find that very helpful. Again, you don't have to. All right, so anyway, back to what we were doing. You have it in neutral, you have it on the jacks, and you're ready to start unbolting things. So I'm going to start with the rear drive shaft first. And now it's getting windy, hopefully that's not in the camera. I'm going to start with the rear drive shaft first for no particular reason other than it looked easy. It was not easy, okay? You probably won't have these problems. This is the first drive shaft I've ever had these problems on. But I had problems on the rear. The front went like gravy, so stay tuned. We'll get there, we'll show you. But I started with the rear because it was supposed to be easier. The rear is held on by some 8mm straps, 8mm bolt straps, U-joint straps, down by the differential. Those 2 straps got to come off, all 4 of those bolts. So once you get those 4 bolts out, the 2 straps off, yours is probably going to be somewhat seized. If it's been a while like mine, I had to grab a pry bar and pop that U-joint out of its sockets on the yoke of the rear differential. Careful when you do this. Now you're going to be free flying. Once you pop that off of the yoke, the slip joints at the transfer case just slides into the transfer case. That'll just slide right out. Just pull it out. It's not stuck in there. It's not held in there. There's no positive retention. It's a legitimate slide joint, just slides out. So once you have this comfortably on your bench, on the floor, wherever you're doing it, I like to use a ball joint press kit. I will link the one I love down below. I've helped Amazon sell a lot of these kits, and I still highly recommend it. So check it out in the link down below. So before we start using the ball joint press, however, you've got these little clips. I forget, I don't know what they're called, but they're retention clips on the caps of the U-joints. This is to keep, you know, your U-joint in place. The easiest way I found to do this is get a little WD-40, just spray it in there just to make everything slide just a little bit better. And then you might get lucky if yours aren't seized. You can grab a pair of needle nose pliers and just squeeze those clips together and kind of wiggle that clip out. If you're not lucky, grab a punch or a screwdriver and a hammer and just kind of ding those things around, get them sliding and moving, and then you can use your needle nose pliers, squeeze the clip together, wiggle it out of place, and you should be good to go. You're going to go ahead and do that to all of the caps of the U-joint you're working on. If you really want to, just if you want to do one thing at a time, go ahead and take all the caps out of both U-joints, or all three if you're doing the front right now. We'll show you the front in a minute, but those clips got to come out. They're going to be in your way. So once the clips are removed, you can then grab your ball joint press. You don't need all the fittings. Really all you need is the big C-clamp portion. That'll do everything we're doing today in this job. And you're going to essentially clip this into place, and you're just going to pop the U-joint through on the other side. Not the whole U-joint, obviously. You're just getting the cap far enough outside of the yoke that you can then grab your adjustable pliers, channel locks, and wiggle that cap loose. That's the goal. Use an impact at your own risk. Most manufacturers of these ball joint press kits say to use a hand ratchet. I will link an extendable one that I really like down below because I really like it. I use it a lot. But use an impact at your own risk. It does make the job go faster. Alright, so once your cap is protruding on the opposite side of the yoke, the outside of the yoke, then you can grab your adjustable pliers, your channel locks, whatever you want to call them, grab them with a Hercules grip and try and wiggle that cap back and forth. Again, the rears did not go the way I wanted them to. The fronts worked like butter, like they were supposed to. The rear drive shaft had some issues, but theoretically, you grab the cap, wiggle it out until it falls out, and then you're going to grab the press, and on the non-capped end, the cap that you just removed, you're going to put that press on and shove it out the other side, and then you can pull the U-joint out of its socket and remove that cap as well, and you're well on your way to being pretty much done. So like we said, a couple of mine were super stuck. The channel locks, vice grips, the tensioning tool, whatever you want to call it, nothing was working for me, so I broke out the Sawzall, which was again not working for me, and I ended up with the grinder and I ground through that U-joint until it finally came out, and all was well. Not the way you're supposed to do it, but I don't know how to do it if you can't do it the right way, so that's the way I did it. After I was able to cut through the U-joint, I was able to then press it out the rest of the way, and all was gravy, all was well. It just kind of sucked that, you know, they didn't go the right way. Alright, once your U-joints are out, if they gave you any fight whatsoever, typically you'll end up with some burrs on the yoke. You need to grind those out. File them is what I do. You just file those yokes nice and smooth. You do not want to push your new U-joint in with any burrs on that metal, so get rid of the burrs. I use a file, you can use a Dremel, you can use whatever. I will link the files I like to use down below, of course. After you get rid of burrs, I went through and used brake clean and a rag and a lint-free towel and just clean that sucker out. Grab a small screwdriver, clean out the retaining space for the clips. Okay, so to install the new U-joints, it's pretty simple, and even on these ones I didn't have any issues reinstalling the new U-joints, just removing the old ones. So to install new U-joints, essentially you're going to take your caps off of two opposite sides, right? So remove those, and then you can kind of fish the U-joint into the yoke. Once you got the U-joint in the yoke, you can go ahead and get one cap in on one side, and then you can press that cap down into place. With the U-joint there, the reason you want to do it with the U-joint in there is so that all the needle bearings stay in place. Also, well to note, don't believe you're supposed to add grease to U-joints, especially the non-greasable kind. However, for my peace of mind, I always add more grease to the universal ones. There always seems to be air in the middle of the U-joint, and I like to shove my new grease in the hole. This might be a bad idea, it might be a good idea, I don't know. I haven't experienced any ill side effects, so I keep doing it. Do that at your own risk. They do come pre-greased. So anywho, press that first cap in. I don't put the retaining clips in until I get the other side in though. So you're going to press that first side in, and then you're going to go to the opposite side, put the cap in there and press that cap in. Be very careful again that these needle bearings don't get squished. They go in perfect. If you end up popping a needle bearing out of place, you're going to have that. You're going to fry that U-joint pretty dang quick, right? So careful, careful, careful. I've not had an issue doing this. I've never put a needle bearing out of place, but it can happen, especially if you're not, careful. All right, so once you've got both caps on and semi in place, try to get the U-joint pressed in to a point where you can put both retaining clips in. You might have to swap the press around just a little bit. Well, once you think you're ready, go ahead and put one clip in. Just use your needle nose pliers, get them in there, use new clips, and make sure it's seated all the way around in that groove. Flip it over and do the other one. Theoretically, you're moving along pretty good now. Like I said, I use needle nose pliers to install the clips. If you're having a hard time fitting it, but it's almost there, you might get lucky with a punch and a hammer to punch it into place, or you might have to use the press and compress it just a little bit more to one side or the other. Either way, make sure it's in the groove so that it doesn't end up popping back out on you while you're on the road. That would not be good. Now you've pretty much got the process down. To get the other side in the yoke, same exact process, only your U-joint is already in one yoke now. Take the other two caps off, put your yoke in place over the U-joint, put your caps on, put the retaining clips on, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, to put the drive shaft, now that you're done with that, back in place, it's pretty simple. It's actually very simple. You're just going to take the sliding part of the drive shaft, I don't know why I'm coming up blank right now, and slide it into the transfer case. Here again, I don't know if you're supposed to use grease or not, but grease is my best friend, so I put grease in there. All right. Do at your own risk as you will. But I put grease, slid it back in, pulled it back into the yoke in the differential. Put those two bolts back on, torqued them down to spec, whatever that is. No, I didn't torque them, I just tightened them, but find the spec, torque them if you wish. And there you go, congratulations, you are done with the rear drive shaft. Now the front one, for me, was super easy. Everything came out just like it was supposed to. No fight, no fuss, no mess. For you, hopefully it's the same. I did have to cut the rears, don't want to ever do that again, but that's what I had to do. So your front drive shaft is bolted down on both sides. It's bolted at the differential and at the transfer case. At the differential, you've got the same U-joint, you got the same straps, U-joint straps that you do in the rear. And at the transfer case, they're through bolts and you have to back them out the back way. Not hard, just letting you know. I could not fit a ratchet on the transfer case side. I had to use a hand wrench. It is what it is. Do what you got to do, okay? Once you have all 8 bolts removed, the front drive shaft you can compress. You grab like a and squish it together and you can pull it out. If yours has been in there for a minute, you might have to use a pry bar to help at the U-joint side with the at the front diff. Either way, should be able to pull it out without too much issues. If you can't collapse it by hand, you probably need to go further with a further rebuild. Take that boot off, re-grease everything, check it out. So this is what you call a double cardan drive shaft. So you have 3 U-joints on it. You have 1 at the differential and 2 more in that double cardan section by the transfer case. There's also a little, I don't know what it's called, but another little piece with a spring in it. Don't lose a spring. If you bought a new piece like I did, which is linked down below, that's fantastic. Probably a good idea. Process is the exact same thing. The only difference is on the double cardan side. Once you pull that outermost U-joint off, you then have that other piece that needs to come out, that big slip ball thing. That pulls out, there's a spring in there, and then there's a little rubber, I think they call it a slinger, but essentially it just catches grease from going too far, I think. Kind of like a dust cap almost. You pull that out, and then you do your other U-joint on the drive shaft side. That you're limited on room, but everything fits fine. You've got the idea by now, so it's not a big deal. There's a lot of caps on the front drive shaft. I was able to pull them all off with channel locks, adjustable pliers, not a big deal. I reused the slinger, not because that's what you should do, but because I wanted to do this weekend, and I couldn't find any locally, and the nearest one on Amazon was 2 weeks out. I'll link it down below though. So I reused mine. Do that at your own risk. Again, you're gonna file all mating surfaces down. No burrs, no dirt, clean them up, get all the grooves cleaned out so you can put your clips back on, and you can start to reinstall everything. If you're having troubles at any point in this with caps coming off that you haven't pressed in yet, just use some electrical tape and wrap it around the U-joint. That'll hold the caps in place while you're bouncing your drive shaft all over. Just a heads up. All right, now we can reinstall the drive shaft on the Jeep. Make sure you get it in correctly. Again, through bolts on the transfer case side, straps on the differential side. Get them in, torque them to specs, whatever that is. You'll have to look up in your service manual. And you're done, guys, mostly. So again, because I have all four corners off the ground, I jumped in the Jeep, fired it up, put it in drive, let my foot off the brake, and let all the tires spin. Just to make sure that, you know, nothing was going to bind up or nothing. And yeah, she span just fine. Again, no noise, but before it wasn't making noise until it was hot. And she's good to go. I will say that I took the drive up here to film this portion of the video in the Jeep, and that's the first test drive I did. So I finished the U-joints, went inside, made my notes on my phone of what I needed to say in what order to you guys, and then I drove up here. No noise, no squeaks, no squeals, no squelches, no squawks. It's awesome. Let the wind go by. So that's all there is to it, guys. Remember, all parts and tools linked in the video description below. You clip those, it helps. You click those and buy stuff, it helps me. Again, donate directly to the channel in the description as well. I've got my Zelle information and PayPal link that goes directly to the channel and more projects. Guys, I love doing these videos. I love helping you guys out. Keep it coming. Keep helping me help you. And we'll continue to grow this thing. So we're at like 8,700 subscribers right now. I appreciate every one of you, and I appreciate even more when you guys watch the videos and watch the ads and, you know, help me fund more projects. Guys, thanks for watching. Check out all the other videos on the channel. I've got tons on the WJs, tons. I've got more than one WJ, so tons of projects. Check them all out. Other trucks, cars, everything. 350Zs, Super Duties, diesels, all that stuff. Check them out. Keep coming back. We'll see you later. And hopefully the wind is not destroying my audio. I really wish I could tell, but I can't. So we're just going to hope for the best. See you later.